I was the High Wizard and worked for the Illuminati for 12 years. I only got hired to do one spell that I didn't actually do, that I turned down. They asked me to do a spell that would clear the way for them to assassinate a pope. And I said no. I don't think I even thought about it. I just said no. I didn't think I would ever be Catholic. I just knew better than to mess with the Catholic Church. In my tenure of 12 years, with my team, helped split 120 Baptist churches, and I did 146 assisted abortions. And at the time that I escaped organized Satanism, I was pretty darn jaded. I didn't care about anybody. I didn't care about anything, really. I knew that I didn't want to die because I didn't want to end up in hell. But I didn't care about anybody else. I just wanted to get away. And I did that. And I found myself eventually in Oklahoma, and then escaping again, but running away from that. I was trying to get into Canada. I don't know why, because Satan's there too. And I eventually ended up in Burlington, Vermont. And I stayed there for a few years. And then, in October of '07, I got married. And in January of '08, this woman gave me a Blessed Miraculous Medal. And you guys know the rest of that story, for the most part. So I converted to being Catholic, almost practically instantly. If you didn't have to go through RCIA or something like that, and then only come in at Easter, then I would have come in a lot sooner. But when I converted, suddenly I cared about people that I hadn't cared for in years. Like I had hidden from my satanic coven, but that also meant that I turned my back on my parents and my brother, and I left everything to hide, and didn't really care for those people, even though they're family. And it was, 26 years of total selfishness. I could easily walk away. And then suddenly, I care about my parents and my brother again. And me and my wife ended up going down, I think, to Tennessee for a wedding. And because that wasn't that far away from where my parents lived, we went down the rest of the few miles and saw the condition that they were in, and knew that we had to sell like everything that we had in Burlington and move down to Florida. And we ended up moving them into a new house, and we took care of them for the last 6 years of their lives. Something I never would have done as a High Wizard. There's no way I would have done that. But I love my parents. And me and my dad butted heads almost our entire lives. And in the final 2 years, we made up. We got along better than we ever had. We had an incredible relationship that I missed out on most of my life. And then I moved away from Florida. My wife divorced me in 2016, and I was looking for, where am I going to go, because she's telling me she's not helping with the ministry anymore. She's not going to help me anymore. And I went blind in 2012, and so I needed somebody to help me. In 2015, in August, the Lepanto Institute did an interview with me, and they titled it, "Former Satanist Said He Used to Do Abortions in Abortion Clinics." And that went viral. People all around the world were contacting me for interviews. And this woman named Jennifer McCoy contacted me to ask me some questions about Satanism and abortion. So I answered her questions, and she said that she thought that she was contacting me for a specific reason, that God wanted her to, but she didn't know why. And I felt the same way, but I didn't know why. And in the course of our friendship, she told me some stories about her, and they ended up going into my CD set and later into my book, Abortion is a Satanic Sacrifice. While we were on the phone, we would talk almost every day. She has 6 kids that live at home, and she has 12 kids overall. And sometimes she'd be talking to me and she'd say, "Hey, can you talk to this child? I've got to go for a second. I'll be right back." And she would hand the phone to her child. So I would start a conversation with a child. And, I can ask a child more than just how old are you, what grade are you in, what's your favorite subject at school. I can keep a conversation going with anybody for hours. So I started doing that with all of her kids and had good conversations with all of them. So fast forward to the next year, and my divorce went through, and they were planning a vacation but didn't know quite where they were going. And I invited them to come down and stay at my house. That Katie was going on a trip and she was going to be gone for like 10 days. Why don't you guys come down and stay in my house for 10 days? So they came down, the entire family came down. Not the entire, not all 12, the 6, plus a grandchild. And, I got to know them very well. And I found that, in 7 days, I pretty much fell in love with her entire family. All of them were awesome. Her husband, John, is one of my best friends. And all the kids really loved me. And then they offered me the chance to move in with them if I ever needed to. And at that time, Katie hadn't laid down the mandate that she wasn't going to help me at all, and she wasn't going to help me with the ministry. Then, soon after she came back, she laid that down and decided that in January is when I should move somewhere. So I contacted the McCoys, and they told me that I could move into their basement, finished basement, in January. So in January 2017, I moved in there. And it is one of the loudest places I have ever lived in my life. It's almost like you're at a rock concert, minus the music, pretty much almost 24 hours a day. They are yelling and screaming and running and playing and laughing all the time. But it was joy-filled. It was incredible to me. I never got joy like that at my house. And then the Satanists stole what they could from me. So I'm in this place, and it was just so incredible to me to have that much love in my life. I'd never had that kind of love in my life. That was just the most amazing feeling ever. And then in October 2017, I had a stroke, and I had pneumonia, and my kidneys shut down. And then my kidneys rebooted. I was in the hospital for about 7 days, maybe a little longer. And for the first 4 days or 5 days, I really thought I was dying. And they didn't know everything that I was going through. They didn't know everything that was happening. They knew that I'd had a stroke. They knew my kidneys shut down. They knew I had pneumonia. But they thought there might be more things going on as well. And I really thought that this was it for me. And I started praying to God a lot. And I told him that, I was in a state of grace for that. That if you're ready to take me, then that's fine. I'm in a state of grace. I know that eventually I'll end up in heaven. But it wasn't fair that it took me my entire life to not have love, to have a little bit here and there, little glimpses of what it could be like, and then to live with this family for 10 months and have the most love I'd ever had in my life, and to have it for a solid 10 months, and now I'm going to die. I didn't want to go. These kids meant more to me than anything, more to me than anyone ever had. And I wasn't ready to give that up. I wanted to live longer. I wanted to see what else, where else can this go? And then I lived. Well, when I was at the hospital, Jennifer brought all the kids up to see me. And I knew I had to see Jessa, because Jessa seems to really love me a lot. And I needed to make sure that she didn't blame God for taking me. So she came up there and I said, hey, I did a lot of drugs in my life, and I drank a lot during my life, and I ate really bad food for a lot of my life. And so I just didn't want you to be mad at God when I die, because it's not God's fault, it's mine. And then, as only a child can do, she said, but God can stop it. And I was praying silently. I was like, God, you got to give me something, because I don't have anything to counteract that with. And her brother, Johnny, he's older, he said, Jessa, if you could take Mr. Zach someplace so that he's not sick anymore and he's not in any more pain and he's happy and you can play with him anytime, would you do that? She goes, yeah, I'd do that. And he goes, well, that's what God's doing. And then she realized that, well, if I'm going to go to heaven, then she'll eventually see me again. And then we can have fun then. And when he said that, that made me okay with going. And then I got better. So, but I really appreciate the grace that God gave me to meet the McCoys. That's, like I said, more love and more joy than I ever had. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.